Let me know when you're ready. I'm ready.
I am ready too, man. Dude, gotta give props to us. Have we ever done 2 in a week?
Have we ever done 2 in a week? Well, let's see if this one makes it. Well, the first one I screwed up on, remember? I couldn't get your audio.
Oh yeah. Well, whatever. We still, and I can still send you that, but we still made it, man. It's progress, man. And now with your new camera and fancy microphones and everything.
There's so much lag on your video. Oh well, whatever. Let's see if the audio works. The audio works.
Yeah.
That's all that I care about.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have your audio.
Yeah. I will be sending you that separately, so it should be okay. But anyways, so were you playing? What you went for the $1,500 setup, right?
Yeah, I bought a Canon EOS 90D with the lens and batteries and SD card, everything. Tripod, about $1,500 with everything. But we'll see. It takes some really good pictures, but man, I'm terrible at. I don't know anything about photography or videography yet.
Yeah. No, I know it has its trick, man. So what is your plan with that? Like, are you just gonna YouTube, like, actually take a class, like?
I'm hoping to find some meetup groups and take a online class, and YouTube, of course. So all three. I want to really get into it just to do it right, and but I don't want to waste time on stuff I don't want to learn. Like, photography is cool, but I'm in it for the video first. You know.
Yeah, I got you. I mean,
I had some.
What kind of video are you gonna be doing?
Mostly YouTube vlogs, the tutorials, the reviews. I don't know if you saw my trackpad review or my SSD hard drive review. Like, just reviews like that. But I also want to take this traveling and actually do more in-depth reviews when I travel. Like, I've never traveled with the point of doing a review.
Yeah.
I always did the review afterwards because I happen to have pictures and I have my story. But now I think I'm going to purposely travel with it and purposely get the footage to make a video travel blog.
Yeah, and that's why I was asking, because I don't really think that you need to learn a lot about doing the reviews and everything. Like, I don't think there's a lot of science to that. Now, for the travel, man, that camera will be super solid. But like you said, I mean, it definitely has its trick. Dude, you should reach out to Paul. Like, he's as good as it gets. You know.
I am, but I am such a beginner, that I'm not ready to even reach out to him. Let me reach out to somebody that has an ounce of his talent first, and then I'll work my way up to reaching my way up to him.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Man, I had some good questions for you.
I have some good ones too, man. I kind of wish I was drinking, but like I said, I'm doing the dry January thing.
I just did my first drink here. Let me ask you this. Not ask you. Here's my problem. I'm going to bring this back to not really. I don't want to bring it into politics, but I want to ask you a question about the truth. And maybe you saw my post on Facebook, but the truth versus how you interpret what the truth means. For example, I was given Jen this scenario yesterday. I said, we can both agree that the sun was out today. We can both agree that the sun was out, and it was out for approximately X amount of hours, and we both saw that sun was out today. But what I don't know if we can agree on is whether the sun went around the earth or the earth was spinning and it made it look like the sun went around the earth. We might not be able to agree on that, but we can both look up at the sky and say, yes, we 100% and unequivocally agree that the sun was out and the sun went from this side of the earth to that side of the earth. But we didn't have to agree on the fact that the earth's spinning, because we both don't know without science, and we don't know if the sun is revolving around the sun. We both don't know unless we believe in science, but we both definitely know the truth that those photons hit our eyeballs it looked like the sun was going across the earth, and we both 100% unequivocally saw it, and you cannot deny it, right? Do you follow me so far?
Yeah, fair enough.
So the only thing that we're arguing about is what's going on that we can't see. Like, we don't actually know that the earth is revolving, and that's what's causing it. We don't know if the sun is actually going around the earth. We don't know. Now, since we're both into science, we actually both do know, but we can definitely agree that some people could misinterpret that. So I'm trying to tie this into some of the truths around this impeachment here and Trump. And I'm trying to say, without getting into too much politics, is we live in a reality of human beings. We're all human. We know that most politicians are lying their teeth out.
Right.
But we know that there was a quid pro quo. We know that there was all these things. There's no doubt in pretty much anyone's mind. The only thing that matters is, does it matter that he did the quid pro quo? Does it matter? And to half the nation, it does not matter. It means nothing. And to the other half, it means a big deal.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm with you 100%. I think. So again, it's hard not to tie it into politics because we'll simply gravitate there. But for example, I don't even try to listen to it. But in the Alexa, I did. It comes those. I have an Alexa with a screen, and there was something about the impeachment hearings, and he was pretty much acquitted, right? Like I mean, he's not going to be held accountable. Like that's going to be the right. outcome.
Yeah, we know that. And everybody knows that.
Yeah, and so I guess kind of to your back to your answer. So what's happening here? Because to your question, sorry. If the facts are the facts, then he should be held responsible. So why is he not? Like if there was a quid pro quo, I mean, is that enough grounds to hold him? Accountable.
But that's the thing. Why don't they just say, there's definitely a quid pro quo, and we're definitely going to do this, and we're going to do this for forever. But it's not grounds for removal, so let's move on with our lives. And we definitely disagree with that, right? But they don't even agree that there's a quid pro quo. They don't even agree that he did something wrong. But just agree that that's what he did, and that's how politicians work. Just agree to it, and then move on. But it's like, I get it. People want a badass in the White House. They want someone that's going to not give a shit. When he says take her out to that ambassador, take her out. That ignites the base, and it says, hey, he's getting shit done, right?
Yeah.
But why doesn't he just admit that? Why doesn't he just say, yeah, I wanted her out of there because she doesn't like me, and that's it? I don't know.
Because he can't, right? Like he cannot say that.
You can he can. Well, he shouldn't say take her out when he's usually saying fire people, but
like even if he was saying it in a more politically correct way, he could not say that. I mean, I guess he said more preposterous things, but I don't know, man. Like it's a difficult topic because people do want that. Like they want a person like you said that get things done. And for example, let me put it this way: not just that, but away. Like the image that Trump gives is that it is America first, no matter what. Almost to the point that is right. So narcissistic. Like it's not just America first. It's fuck the rest of the world, and it's the only thing that matters is America. Where it really should be like America first, working in harmony with the rest of the world. And Trump is more of a fuck everyone else. And I think that the way that you want to see it, man, like he's appealing to the natural instinct that many Americans have, that they feel we are greedy people, and they think like that, and it works, man. And the thing is, like, for people like you and me, that I think have some compassion, and that we believe that it should be more fair, and that he should respect other people and whatever, it hurts. But I mean, is it completely wrong to say fuck everyone else? Like, I'm gonna do everything to make sure that America has everything first, even if it's screwing Mexico, and if it's screwing Canada, and if it's screwing China, and whatever. Like, I mean, is that, technically speaking, is that wrong?
Well, that's not all he's doing, though. He's not just saying make America first and thinking about America and not Mexico and all these other places. He's also screwing over the middle class and poor people. But people don't understand that. Trump is against our own self-interests.
Of
completely.
course.
And people don't understand that in America. So it's not really make America first. It's make America's richest people richer and screw everybody else in America. So it's,
well, yeah,
and people don't even understand that.
But you just said it. Like, that's the problem, is that they don't have to understand it. Like, he's doing it that way, and he just has to say that he's not doing it that way, and that's all that they want to hear. And that's kind of my point, man. Like, until it is more painfully obvious, because obviously it's not obvious enough that sorry for being so redundant, but it's not painfully obvious enough that the middle class, many of the middle class, can see it, and so to them it doesn't matter. You know, like we're in a point where it doesn't matter, man. The truth doesn't matter. It is irrelevant. Like, he just has to say it. Right. You know, and that's a reality that we live in. It sucks. It's bizarre, dude. It truly feels like an episode of the Twilight Zone, right? Like, it really
we're
does.
Truly, the stuff that goes on, it doesn't hit you right away, and it doesn't hit the regular person every day, but it's truly the same stuff we read about in, like, Russia or other countries where, you know, these things happen, where Vladimir Putin legally sort of got elected, and then he got elected again. Then he got elected again. And he's going to make it so that he's always elected.
Of course.
And technically, he really didn't do anything illegal. All he did was make the changes of the laws to make him so he can be elected again. You know what I mean? All he did was change the Constitution. So then the Constitution says they can be elected for life.
Absolutely, man.
You know what I mean?
And that's kind of my point.
And that's exactly what goes on.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. That at the end of the day, well, is Trump doing some illegal? Maybe he is. Some illegal stuff. Many times he's not. And the thing is, he's so just wrong. But like, you have to admit that just the fact that he's a bigot, and that, you know, he has committed fraud and whatever, like all these things that also the Democrats point out about him, I don't respect them, and I would never follow a person that has those values. But that doesn't mean those should not be tied up to him being a bad president. Like, if he cheats on his wife, if he if he scams people, that should not be tied up to him being a bad president. Like, that is your personal life, and you can be a cheater, you can be an asshole, but
okay,
does that make sense?
So you're saying, well, when you're a public figure, you are not representing my company. You're representing me as a human being, as an American. You're not representing companies only. You're representing humans that live in America. And so when you say your personal life is separate completely, like in business, I completely agree with you, where 99% of all business jobs should care nothing about your personal life and only about your work accomplishments. What did you do at work to accomplish things, right? Did you make the project successful and save the company money? Yes, you're hired. But if you didn't, you're not hired. I don't care what you do in your bedroom by yourself. But now, when you're the president, you're a public figure that's representing the American human that lives in America. You're not just representing American companies, you're representing American people. And so your personal life, to me, does reflect. And what better way to judge somebody than to judge them based on what they've done throughout their entire life?
I kind of, in that way, I get what you're saying. But I think it's just a matter of being kind of, again, it's all back to the being politically correct. Like, you're right. Like, I would like man, I miss Obama. I miss that. For example, it truly was a time where doesn't matter where you went, where you travel, international or whatever. Obama was respect because he was very well spoken, clearly smart, very well educated. Like it sucks to say, look at a video of Trump on a debate or something, and it's like a parody. I get that, but it's not a requirement. That's my point. Like you know, and the point is, if he is improving or whatever, like that should be he could be giving the finger to people, and like technically speaking, it's like, well, if he's negotiating something with China and it works out for the U.S., then I mean that's that. You know, there's that. And there's
I
one more
agree with
thing.
you there. It's not a requirement. I do agree with you. It's not a requirement.
Yeah.
So I was on a tangent thinking, okay, here's why I don't like them. But you're right. Those things do not disqualify you at all. 0%.
Yeah.
Those things.
And the thing is, I think people focus on that, and so it creates resentment with the right and the right with the left. But the other thing to consider there that I've thought about is that, dude, it's such a fake image. Like it's just such a fake image that like being the president has to be this super respectable person when there's really almost no one that is really. Let's use you and me as an example. Let's just dude, you and I like to party, and you know, like we are all, and at the end of the day, just look at the amount of stress and bullshit that if you were the president, you would have to be working all the fucking time. When it is a product of the new society, man. Back in the day, the kings, the people that were ruling, the emperors, they were having orgies and partying and all this shit. Because yeah, they were ruling, but it's like, I deserve it. I'm under stress. I'm ruling the fucking world, and that is your human nature. But instead, we are creating this fake image, like that the presidents cannot uphold, man. Like fucking Clinton was, for all we know, Lewinsky was just one of them. Like it was all around, and for all we know, he was doing coke every night or something. You know, like it is just a fake image, man. And I think that is, again, let me be clear, and I don't even encourage saying it anymore. I respect my friends that follow Trump. I see why. I respect my friends that are blue, like, and everything. I personally don't like Trump. As simple as that. But I do think that he's a polarizing figure, and he's the first real president we get. He's the first real one. That I do think. Like, we've never seen a real president before. Obama, there's no way he's like that with his family. Like there's no way. No one else.
You don't think so? I think so.
Dude, of fucking course. He's a human. He's not a robot. Like he pretended to be. All of them pretended to be always like, you know, and I get why. Like, you have to be smart. But of course not. It's like if you became president, man. Dude, you're one of the smartest people I know. Like what I was telling you earlier about the Spanish test and whatever. So I really do mean that. I think you're one of the smartest people I've ever met. And so I think that if you decided to become president, like, and you know, read up, became a lawyer, like everything, you would be like an Obama or something. But I know you, motherfucker. Like, I know you would not be like that, you know, in real life. And so it's just, to me, it's like, why do we have to have that fake person in the presidency, you know? Does that make sense?
No, I mean, I know what you're saying. It's just he does go to such extremes.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You're right. Obama probably is a little bit less professional at his house, but I'm certain that he's way more professional than Trump is off the record.
Oh, for
Imagine
sure.
like Trump off the
no
record.
one
what
is
are you
like
gonna
Trump. Like, no one. I get you.
But I do get that, including me. Of course, I would be, but I'd be professional because that's the social norms that they expect me to behave like. And you're right, that makes me fake. Does that make me fake? I don't think so, because that's what I do at work every day. I'm not fake at work. It's just there's work and then there's personal. And you're right. But yeah.
Dude, yeah.
Oh. That brings me up with another not a question, but you know, a lot of people are saying like just don't talk politics, but I think that's BS. I think that we should talk politics even with those that are opposing our views completely. Like if I go to Oklahoma and I want to go to the bar and I want to talk about how great Obama is and how shitty Trump is, they should encourage Americans to talk about politics.
Dude,
like why is it like, oh, don't talk about politics at a bar? I'm like, But that's a good thing.
Well, I'll tell you, in that I did disagree. I think that we should be able to talk about it regardless. But two things. One, the part that I disagree is definitely you should not talk politics in a bar, simply because there's alcohol involved. And that's, we're
Hey, I
just
lost
not.
you for a second.
Oh, you just froze. Can you
I
hear
still
me?
lost you.
You just froze. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it froze for about 10 seconds.
Okay,
maybe.
okay, we're good.
You
So,
disagree with me on one thing?
yeah, like in a bar, definitely not just politics, like anything sensitive, you should not, because there's alcohol involved, and doesn't matter how mature you are, alcohol is whatever. But in any other setting, I get it, and I think you're right. Like, you should be able to discuss it with anyone. The problem, the reason why people say that is because most people are not mature enough to respect it. And there is another thing. This I do criticize of the Democrat side, man. I think that the blue side and the Democrat have always been the voice of reason, the ones that is like, we want the hard data, we want facts, we want to hear the other side. But lately, they turned into the one thing that they criticize so much about the Republicans. Like, it's like it's my way or the highway, and this pushed the Republicans to be even more like that. So now we're extremely polarized, and it's very difficult. In an ideal world, I agree with you. Like, I think that we should all be. It would be great if we were back in a time where I can tell you my point, you can tell me yours, and if we disagree, we can keep talking to a point that I see why you were wrong. Let's meet here in the middle ground. Or even if we don't agree, that is like, hey, I appreciate you saying what you said. I disagree, but fair enough. But that's not the case. Most people are immature. Most people give you the finger. You know, it's just
So, but politics is not a sport. It's not a win-lose just like that. But also, if you don't talk about it, yeah, okay, maybe not at a bar, but if you don't talk about it openly in person with other peers, then you get your talking points from two sources, MSNBC and Fox. If you don't talk within each other, then you get it from two places only. That's it. So the more that we don't talk about politics together, the more that we listen to politics from two sources,
yeah,
Fox or MSNBC, two polarized, completely opposite ends of the spectrum.
Well, and I get you, but again, I agree with you. Let me put it that way. I really do. I just think it's very difficult, man. Like most people are not willing to. Most people could not have the discussion that you and I are having, man. Like, they really couldn't. You know, and you and I are on the. I think of. You know, I can honestly say I'm not like super blue, but yeah, I would vote Democrat. I'm a centralist liberal. Let me put it that way.
Right.
But so it's easier for us to talk, maybe. But I truly think that if you were 100% pro-Trump or something, I could talk to you and we would be completely fine. And it's not the case. Man, I have plenty of people in my Facebook that when I post this, I wouldn't be surprised if I get unfriended. And I haven't even said anything against Trump or anything, but I probably will. You know, and it just sucks.
I've only got a few friends that are really pro-Trumpers that I am actually still friends with. Like, I have a lot of acquaintances, so it's not like I'm not friends with. I was never friends with them to begin with. Half the people on my Facebook, but there's a couple, and what I was telling you about before about the truth and interpreting it differently. The friends that do like Trump, they tell me straight to my face that they like him because he's such a fucking asshole. They like him because he's fucking over the rest of the world. They like him because he's sending immigrants back. They like him because they think it's funny. They tell me that it's fucking hilarious. And I'm like, oh, okay. But at least they told me, like, yeah, I know he's an asshole. I know he's lying, and I know it pisses you off. That's why I like him. They literally tell me that.
Wow.
Uh-oh, losing you again.
Yeah, I lost you too.
Can I do a firing round with you? A couple questions, and you answer pretty quick?
Yeah, I mean, if it's so laggy.
If the internet works.
Yeah.
Damn it. I don't know if it's my end or your end. It's probably Zoom. Let's blame it on the middle guy.
Yeah, I would say it's Zoom.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. Quick questions and then quick answers. You ready?
Go for it.
Should felons be allowed to vote?
Yes.
Should people that are currently in prison be allowed to vote?
Depends.
All right, fair enough. All right. Should children under the age of 18 be sentenced to life in prison no matter what the crime is?
No.
I mean, should that be allowed?
No, I don't think so.
No child should be sentenced to life in prison no matter what the crime.
Again, it depends on the age, I think. And I don't know the specific age, but yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. Could a child under 18 be sentenced to death?
I think in certain cases, yeah.
When somebody gets out of prison for a felony, should they be able to discharge their felon and not disclose it after X amount of time?
Yes, they should be able to.
Should speeding tickets be proportionate to your income?
No.
So, okay. Well, that was my firing round. I just quickly came up with those questions to see just kind of.
So did you have those drafted, or were you reading them from somewhere, or?
No, I was thinking about them for a few seconds before. While we were talking, I was thinking about some of them. Okay. I think it's kind of fun. I think we should do more of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Firing rounds.
That was interesting. Those are all of those are a topic of conversation on its own. Dude, this is the weirdest thing. Yeah. Now my audio is like behind. God damn it.
Has it been flickering, your audio?
Yeah.
It's been flickering on my end. Yeah. Okay, damn. Man, I hope it works out.
Should we try to do Hangouts?
If you want. Do another round?
Yeah, I'm going to pause this one and let's do Hangouts.
Yeah, let's stop all the recording and start a new fresh recording so we can sync up a fresh one.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to stop all and then we'll talk again in a minute. All right, bye.
Bye. How do I split the screen?
Yeah, if you're recording me, I'm big, but what about you? You're small, right?
Oh, yeah, so...
Oh, you got the...
Yeah, so, exactly. So, I think I sent you a video, right, on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So like the way... Man, and now it's perfect. Like, I don't even have the issue that I had last time with the little icons on the mute and everything. But, like, the point is... I am recording in OBS your side of the... whatever, and on my side is the straight up camera, so there's no lag, there's no, like, if I was to lose you in the connection or there's lag a little bit, there's never lag on my side, so I look perfect in that way. And if there's lag, then you'll be laggy, but I'll never be laggy, so that's a good setup.
All right.
You know, like, I saw the Snowden podcast, you know, that he did with him in Russia.
With Rogan?
Yeah, and like a big part of it, I was just thinking, how did he get the quality to be so good? Like, this is the kind of stuff that I struggle with Mark so much.
You know, I bet if you pay the premium prices for like Zoom or whatever service, you get some pretty good service.
Dude, guess what? I did some research, and apparently it was a hassle for them, but they did the exact same. So they had a conversation like in the podcast, but Snowden recorded himself and then sent the recording to him in order for it to look that way. Yeah. So there's probably no way to make it look, you know, perfect just with an internet connection.
Wow.
You can get pretty close, but you cannot get like super HD just with it. I guess maybe we're just not there yet. I don't know.
Jeez. Yeah, that's crazy.
Isn't that weird? But anyways, yeah. All right. So what were we on before the whole lag happened?
We finished the firing round. We could do another one if you want. Same
Sure.
questions, if you want a clearer one. I've got a few more questions, but
Go for it. I'm game.
well,
That was interesting.
I'll start with the ones that I already asked you.
Yeah.
Just in case we want to use it because that's just that in itself is kind of cool. All right, let me start. Let's start here. Let's start again. Let me ask you these questions. Fire in round 2, round 1.
All right.
All right. Should people that are felons, should they be able to vote?
Yes.
Should people that are actually in prison be able to vote while they're in prison?
Yes.
Should people
depends, but yeah.
if people got out of prison, do they have to retain their felon stature or can they expunge that? Basically, not tell anybody they were a felon before they did their time.
I think like with all with the previous questions that you asked me, like it depends. I think it depends on the. I definitely think that there should be some felonies that should be able to get expunged. I mean, you can get a felony from a DUI, and there's plenty of people that get a DUI and will never drive drunk again. Now, what about if you get a felony because you were a serial murderer? Well, maybe you should not be able to expunge that, right? Like maybe.
Maybe, but the judge said justice is served if you do this amount of prison time and then you got out. So, I mean.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Justice was served.
Oh, then.
Why would you be out of prison if it wasn't served?
You're right. Well, and if you're a serial killer, probably you will never get out. But you're right. Based on that logic, I think so, man. I do think that's a broken system. Like absolutely.
That's okay. We'll move on.
Yep.
Should a child? Let's just do this. Should anybody under the age of 16, so 15 and younger, should anybody be able to have a life sentence? If they committed a crime so bad, should a 14-year-old have a life sentence?
No, I don't think so.
So that would probably answer the next one. Should a child be able to have the death penalty?
I just think there's a difference between 14 and 17. Like a 17-year-old is a child?
Well, I'm going with, in this scenario, 15 is a child, 16 is not. So 15 and younger.
Yeah, I would say no. Like.
No death sentence.
No death sentence. Can you answer them?
Oh, do you want me to answer them?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You could tell where I come from. Yeah, I can answer those questions. If you committed a felony and you served your time and you're out, you can definitely get it expunged because you served your sentence and you shouldn't have that stigma. Now, granted, there'll be some super secret missions, blah blah blah, government that you have to still divulge it. But I would say for 99% of the jobs out there, you should never have to mention ever in your entire life that you've been to prison because you served. If you're out of prison, you should definitely be able to vote. If you're in prison, I still think you should be able to vote because I still think you're a human. And I think that you have just as much say. In the Constitution, it doesn't say that in prison you can't vote. So if you believe in the Constitution, it doesn't say, it says everybody can vote. It doesn't say everybody except for people that went to jail. So,
well, but
or prison.
If you're in jail,
are you still not a person in jail? Are you not a person in prison?
No, but if you're in jail forever,
still vote. You vote. You use your voter ID in jail. In prison. If you believe in the Constitution, where in the Constitution does it say you no longer have the right to vote because you went to prison or you're in prison?
You're right, and just based on what you're saying, I agree. But technically speaking, what's the point of you voting? Like, it will not affect you, right? Like
well, yeah, it could. What if? Okay, you went to jail for the rest of your life because you got caught 3 times for carrying 4 pounds of marijuana each time, and you're in jail for life. 3 strikes law. Now the vote comes, and some politician says, "Hey, I will exonerate everybody that's been put to jail for pot use."
Very good point.
And
yeah, I would agree.
Especially if you're wrongfully imprisoned or in prison for something that you think should be wrongful, but isn't. So, yeah. I mean, first of all, we shouldn't have a huge prison population, but we do. We have the highest in the entire world. So there's that. But anyways, children should not be sentenced to death. I believe that children should be tried. You should try to rehab them people can change, especially when they're young and stupid or they have really jacked up upbringings, man. Like the
Yeah.
upbringing, it's not an excuse. They still need to go to jail and still serve their time and still need remedial everything.
Yeah.
But I definitely wouldn't recommend a life sentence to any child or the death sentence at all ever, no matter how egregious it is.
Yeah.
Even if the child murdered 55 people by strangling them and doing the worst kind of murder you can possibly do, the kid's got something wrong with their brain. They need to go to an institute and be institutionalized, but not in prison.
Yeah. I agree.
More
100%.
more fire round questions for you. Do you think that if you live in America, you have to learn English?
Ooh. I'm supposed to answer quickly, man, but those are no easy questions. So let's just play the firing round game, and I might change my answer once I think about it. But the answer is no. Immediately, I would say no.
Okay. Do you think that the person that hires an illegal immigrant should be punished if caught hiring an illegal immigrant if they don't have the proper paperwork?
Yes.
Do you think that there should be billionaires in America?
I think there shouldn't be billionaires.
Do you think that people that make less than $20,000 a year, roughly, depending on your geographic location, should get some sort of assistance?
I do.
Do you think that schools should rely on money from their local communities or from an entire state divvied up proportionately?
The entire state.
Okay. Do you have any questions? I think I'm flush out.
No, dude. I wanna. Those are really good ones. Can we go back and kind of talk them over a little bit? And can you tell me what you think? I really don't know what is your stance. I don't think it's that common sense.
Yeah, the English thing, I don't think you should have to. I think we are a nation of immigrants.
Yep.
And English just happens to be the most popular language. And I know we talked about this earlier, but
No, I'm with you.
obviously, if your most jobs are going to be in English, if you want to move up, you probably have to learn English, but there's no requirement for it. So there's some places in Texas, I'm sure, and probably New Mexico, that there's a lot of Spanish signs, maybe even stop signs, but they're in America. I lost your video?
I lost you again.
Are you still okay? There
You're
you go.
back.
Okay, that's fine. So in certain places in Texas, there's some street signs and stuff that are in Spanish. It's perfectly fine. If the local community is speaking Spanish, why wouldn't you want your local advertisements and your local stuff to be in Spanish? Right?
Right.
So I do think that that's the case. What was the other questions?
I just said
School.
language, hiring an illegal immigrant.
Oh yeah. I definitely think that the person that's doing the hiring, if there's a reason to punish the person that's doing the work, there should be a reason to punish the person that hired the person doing the work.
For sure.
And then the school system, obviously, I do think that the state should divvy it up proportionately, because I don't think it's fair that local communities, like poor communities, get less education than the rich communities. I'm sorry, but I think it should be split up.
I'm with you. I think we agreed in all of those. I really do. That is a good one. I think that I'm gonna look at this video, and I would like to explore all of those in more depth in the next time we talk, because I think there's a lot more to it. But I agree in the general idea. Kind of changing the subject. Let me ask you. I wanted to ask you, and I wrote them even earlier today, or send the voice notes. But random question thing I heard, and I'm pretty sure this has to not be accurate, but it was part of a podcast, and the first thing I thought like BS. But I heard that 1 in 6 men in the United States are molested when growing up. There's,
Damn.
there's no way, right? Like, and if so that means that we probably know, like plenty of people, like plenty of our circle of friends would be. You think there's a chance that is correct?
Like when you say 1 in 6 in a lifetime or growing up like as a child?
I don't know, but I'm guessing as mainly as growing up as a child.
Because of the word molested, it sounds like a child. Dude, 1 in 6. Huh. I think that there's definitely a high number. I don't know about 1 in 6, but I think it's definitely high. Yeah.
Really?
And you're talking male only?
Yeah.
There's so many creeps out there.
Yeah.
And kids are so
There
vulnerable.
is.
And it's probably mostly family members. It's probably
Yeah.
mostly family. And it's probably something very subtle and small that really didn't fuck with the kid too much, maybe. But as the
Yeah.
kid gets older, they're like, damn, you know what? Uncle blah, blah, blah really did. Why did he check my pants like that? You know, when I
Yeah.
when I wet my pants, why did he pull my pants down and like move you know what I mean? Like nobody
Yeah.
did that to me. Like I could tell you, like I'd honestly tell you if I was, but I was not. Except for unless you want to count my brother Dave, who would grab both of my feet from the other end of the bed, and he was about 1.5 inches taller than me, so he'd jam his foot up my ass while pulling on my legs. So I was butt fucked by my brother's foot. I don't consider that being
Yeah, I don't
molested
think that
though,
counts.
and it was by my own brother, same age. I can't believe I just said that on live.
Dude, you're
YouTube.
good. I think that's hilarious. But yeah, I don't think that counts. I just thought that was weird and kind of led to another topic in there. But okay, let me ask you another one. I'm in a weird situation currently, as far as transitioning of my life dynamic, right? And so now I live with Kristen and with Dylan. That Dylan is freaking great, but it makes me think of a bunch of things. And one of them, I don't know why, I've been thinking of this a lot. Like, do you think that thing that they say, you think there's something genetic that we cannot control, that like when you have a kid on your own? Like, I just always thought that was fake. That you have a kid and you love it instantly, like just because genetically it's your blood and all that stuff. Was that like that for you with Canton? Like,
yeah, with Canton it was, but I could believe that it's not always the case.
right?
I mean, I met so many people that I feel like their parents definitely hate their own children. I'm like,
Right.
damn, like you fucking hate your kid. That's weird. Now, there's a lot of shitheads out there, but even the shithead dads or the shithead moms still probably love their kid. They just suck at being a parent, you know? You know what I mean?
But
But
I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, you think that I don't know, man, like that they love it because it's your son, just it's born and we're coded genetically to love it. Like you think that that's in the majority, or you think that we have been brainwashed to think that when you have a son, when you have it, you will love it. And honestly, like the reason I do that is like I think of that. Like I don't know if I want to have more kids, a kid eventually of my own or something like that. And I know that I would be a good parent and I would love him. But I've always, ever since I was little, like even I remember my parents telling you, like, you have to love your sister, it's your family. And I was like, no, I will love them as time goes by, as I develop a relationship, if they're good to me and I'm good to them, and then I will say, but just because it's my blood, I have to love them. And ever since I was little, I remember thinking, that is the biggest pile of shit. But I wonder if there is something to it. Like,
I don't think so. I think you're right. I think, like, even for, like, my kid, because he's my kid and stuff, I do love him, but that's because I helped raise him since he was baby.
right,
I could have raised some other kid, and I think it would have been the same amount of love, basically.
right.
You know, but also, like, even my own siblings, like, I have brothers and sisters I've barely ever met. I'll be honest with you, some of my brothers could be dead. I don't even know, or die, and there's not going to be one tear coming out of my eye, not one.
Right.
So
Yeah, no. I
there's
I share the same mentality. I just it's one of those things that I don't know. I was thinking of randomly, you know.
it's one of those things where people are afraid to admit stuff that deep, but it's
Yeah.
like true.
Yeah.
That leads me to a question. People talk about pro-life and pro-death and stuff, and I'm thinking like, okay, they're like, oh, all life matters, right? And the people that are basically against abortion is what I'm talking about, right? But when Joe Schmo down the street jumps off the balcony and kills himself, and you've never met him, but you just heard about it, how does that make you feel the next day? Like, are you like, oh, I can't believe a life was lost? Nobody gives a flying fuck about Joe
Nah.
Schmo killing himself. So
Dude,
nobody gives a shit if that chick down the street had a miscarriage or got an abortion. Nobody cares. But
Yeah.
then they say it publicly that all life matters. But no, it doesn't. No,
No, I'm
it
with
absolutely
you.
does not.
I agree. And honestly, in that, like, I feel pretty strong about that. Like, I'm definitely pro-choice just because I think that it's absolutely insane that someone. I mean, we cannot control it, right? Like, sex is a need, and especially when you're that young, people make mistakes, and so you're pregnant at 13. This douchebag leaves or just doesn't want to help you raise it. You're this girl, and you have to.
And also raped her because she's 13.
Or that like even more if there's rape, like if there's rape, is not even, for me, it's not even a topic of conversation. Like you have to be able to be a choice. But even if you just made a mistake and whatever, like, are you supposed to, for the rest of your life, close all these opportunities? And like, what if you're just not mom material? What if you're just not? What if you don't have the resources? Like, what then? Yeah, and that I feel pretty strong about that. Like, I think it's just.
I feel strong about that too, but don't get me wrong. I think there's a point of no return where 99.9% of all people should abide by.
For sure.
Like, there's a point of no return. Like, the first few weeks, the first few months, you can be like, all right, fuck this, I don't want it.
Right.
But, like, when you're 8 months, like, they keep using this, like, all over Facebook and everything. They show, like, oh, this baby that could have been born. Like, no, nobody's talking about that stuff. Like, at that point, you got to go with the flow. Yeah, you can still get an abortion, but you kind of should have been taught that it was okay to get one after 3 weeks, after 4 weeks. But nobody teaches that, and it makes it such a hard stigma and a hard question to answer that people wait until 4 or 5 months, and then they're like, oh, fuck, I don't want the baby. Well, then there's, like, more of an issue because, well, you know, that's the point of no return.
For sure.
They should just straight up be like, look, you're pregnant. I'll tell you what. You've got 4 weeks. Here's this magic pill you can take. You take it, you're no longer pregnant. Like, that, it was that easy.
Yeah.
But now they're like, well, let's wait for a heartbeat and all this shit. And it's like, well, fuck, now you're complicating things here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, honestly, I don't know that I don't know what's the right answer there. You know, I really don't. Like you said, that is just way too complicated, and it changes the whole thing. But I do think that at some point, within a certain time frame, you have to be able to make that choice, man. I mean, having a kid at a young age before you've gone to college or before you have a decent job, it's just not fair for the kid, man. Like,
No.
you know.
No. And politicians or rich people, regardless of what the law is, they will find a way. Like,
For sure.
all they do is fly to some other country that allows it, or go to their personal doctor that does it, or
Yep.
it's literally just BS. It's another one of those things. Nobody cares about somebody else's kid. I'm sorry. If they did, they do more.
And it's prohibition, man. Like, it's like you said, they'll find a way. You cannot keep all these things at bay, man. Like, I mean, it's like with the marijuana thing, like with weed. I mean, dude,
Yeah.
it's gonna become legal at a federal level eventually. Like, there was just no point. There's just no point. I mean, it's a big reason why the, again, that's, we're just talking about difficult subjects, man. But that it's a reason why the narco, you know, is so powerful in Mexico. Like, because drugs are illegal, man. Like, because it's such a huge market. Like I mean, there's gotta be a way, man, to legalize. You cannot contain the will of the people. You just can't, man. I mean, you just can't. That's those are my thoughts. But anyways.
Well, maybe I could change up the subject with a question about All right. What do you think about the legality? Let's think about this. You're going to get into a contract with the government, right? And you own your own business,
Yeah.
and you're going to go into a contract with the government, and the government says, yes, I'm going to get in contract with you, and you have to do all this work. And then I'm trying to think where I'm going with this. And then the government says, oh, actually, never mind. This question is not going anywhere. I can't think of a good one.
You're good. I have like I said, I have a number of them. I just but here you go. Some of them are not good, but I've been meaning to ask you, and I have one that I have to listen to a voice note, but I had it earlier. How would you go about disappearing from the face of the earth if you had to you had a like 1 week and you'll be chased like and like nowadays it's pretty much impossible like if they're looking for you you cannot, because there's a digital footprint pretty much anywhere anywhere. So how would you go about it?
If it was just a week, it would be a different story than for like years.
Well, no. But what I'm saying is, you're right. Never mind. The week, ignore the week. You simply have to disappear. You have to disappear as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Like if you don't do it in a week, you'll be for sure dead. But like you have to do it, and you can never come back.
I feel like you could be a pretty good homeless person for a while without getting caught. The only reason why you really get in trouble as a homeless person if you do something wrong as a homeless person, but if you literally look like a bum, and you change your hair color, you might shave, you might do all kinds of things like that, but
I mean, walk me through what you would really do, because I know that you would not just decide I'm gonna become a bum. Like what would you, Mark, do? Like right now. You hear a knock on the door. It's an FBI agent, and you're like, "We're gonna put you in jail for the rest of your life." And then on accident, he has a heart attack, dies, and it's like, "Oh shit! I gotta get out. I gotta disappear." What would you do? Like, walk me through the steps.
I wonder if. Oh, all right. So I would jump on a freight train first. I would try to find a freight train, and I'd try to get out of the country. But the problem with getting out of the country is I definitely stand out like a sore thumb. Let's say I go to Mexico, right? I'd stand out like a sore thumb because I'm not Mexican. But I feel like the further I can get away from the United States, the better off I'd be, and just start a whole new life in another country. But I would take a freight train because I don't need a passport if I literally I'm on a freight train and it goes past the border. So I'd start with that, and then I would have to work like as a dishwasher. I'd do the immigrant thing, but in another country, right?
So you would try. Like your goal would be to try to get out of the country, and you would try to use a freight train. Like what I'm saying is, you would not even consider trying to liquid all your assets out. Like try to get cash. Like you would just straight up. Would you even jump in your car?
Only for a little bit. Like if it happened, and I knew about it, I would jump in my car. I'd take the metro, and then I would take an Uber. Well, no, the Uber's gonna fuck me over too. But you know what? I think I can immediately get away. It's just the long term. Like I think I have a good window. If they were looking for me, I think I can. I think I can have like a full day, like a head start, basically. Yeah, they'll be able to track my moves. But I do think that they won't catch me until about a full day. If I continue to use my devices and carry my phone and do all that stuff, I still think I got about a full day. But then they will catch me, no doubt about it. If I have a device on me, they're going to catch me. But I don't think they'll catch me that quick. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, I think they would. Because I mean, remember, like they're looking for you desperately. So I don't even know why I came up with this question. I think maybe it was because of a show.
Diablo Guardian.
No, God.
I just watched that.
Oh, it was the Don't Fuck with Cats. on
Oh, no.
Netflix. It's a documentary of this guy who's clearly sick, but he has this disorder. He needs attention, and so he kills. Oh man, it's even hard to say, but he kills a couple of kitties and uploads the video to just create outrage. And so then he receives the attention, so people start looking for him, like not the authority, just people, even like using Google Maps and whatever. And then he wants more attention, so he goes from cats eventually to puppies, eventually to a person, right? And it's a real life,
Oh, wow.
kind of thing. But they catch him because he even had a blog on what would you do to disappear. And the truth is that it really takes them a long time. Like he goes from country to country, from Canada to France and to whatever. And he was smart. He said, like, you have to liquidate all your assets as soon as possible into cash, because you'll need cash. You cannot leave any trace. But also you have to be aware of any cameras. Like, you cannot go into a gas station. If you're a homeless, you'll have to go into at some point to buy food or something into a cheap 7-Eleven or something, and you leave a digital footprint. And so anyways, like I was just thinking, it's like, it would be almost impossible. What you said, maybe there's something to it. Either be homeless and live like under a bridge somehow, like forever, which doesn't seem feasible, or like exit the country. And depending on how hard they're looking for you, that even then they'll find you. But and at some point you have to get what he was saying, like you have to get plastic surgery. And I was just thinking, how are you going to get someone to do plastic surgery on you without like identification or credentials? But I'm sure that it can be done. And he was saying, final step, you have to get a fake passport. Like, you have to find a way to start over, because otherwise you'll be fucked. But I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting. It's crazy that people can come up with that shit.
I think people do it I think people have done it for sure. Absolutely. Started a home life. Especially if you know the systems and you've actually basically found a dead person's identity, and that dead person's never... You know what I mean? That could happen. There's got to be somebody probably has a business doing stuff like that. Especially when you're connected. Like, I bet a lot of politicians. So sometimes I do think that, like, some of the... Even though I don't have a whole lot of trust in, like... I think the government's great, don't get me wrong. But I don't have a whole lot of trust, like the movies, where they're like, oh, we've got a new identity and all that stuff. Like what if Trump is actually playing the part because of a bigger meaning, because of something bigger? And what if the Democrats and the Republicans are actually getting along behind closed doors? And this is part of some bigger scam and scheme that they're trying to come up with. Like, well, what if that's the case?
Dude,
like,
for sure. Everything is possible, right? Like absolutely.
But I really highly doubt it, because I can't get a guy to flush the toilet as the government. So, like, let alone have a scheme like this with multiple people involved. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't believe in too much of that conspiracy stuff.
Yeah, no, it's a rabbit hole, and it's not worth thinking about it too much. But definitely possible. Changing subject on that, do you ever think about us being in a complete simulation? Like, do you think that like do you find yourself thinking about that all of this is not real
all the time?
Yeah,
I don't know if it's true or not, but I definitely think about that, because my programming brain, this and that, and I love physics and I love the universe, and I see I understand all the way down to quantum physics and relativity. Like, I see how it could intertwine. But even quantum physics can be programmed to be random and things like that. And it's really interesting to think about, like, what if we're just solving an equation right now? What if we're nothing but solving an equation? Look how small we are. We're little individual specks in this huge universe that we think we're significant as humans. We're like, oh, we're like so significant. Like, hey, these atoms happen to bump into each other in just such a way that it created a freaking human on some random planet in this big giant universe. That is pretty random as fuck. I don't know how, like, atoms can collide like that. But if you think about quantum physics, we're not even atoms. We're a bunch of waves and stuff like that, where every possibility happens, and this is the only possibility that I can actually comprehend. Every other possibility I couldn't, but the chances of me actually comprehending is there because every possibility happened. You know what I mean? Like it's
Well,
gnarly.
yeah, like you're saying like we are the singularity, right? Like literally like that 1 in a million chance. But I disagree with that because I think if it is, I mean, if the Big Bang Theory is true and the universe is growing exponentially at pretty much the speed of light and whatever, dude, the possibilities are endless. Why is it so crazy? Like, I mean, it is that question, right? Like when people say, like, how can you not believe in God? Like, look at this. It is amazing. It is like there had to be a purpose. Someone created this. It's like, no, and it could be a lot more pretty, and it could be way, way more complex. Like, it could just all be part of the insane and never-ending chemical reaction that took from the Big Bang. Like,
Right.
I don't
And,
know.
and I mean, if big bangs happen all the time, or if there's a big crunch and a big bang and a big crunch, if that's even a thing, which there's theories now that are like a little bit more in depth now because of quantum theory and stuff. But think about this: before you were born, how long did you wait to become born? Do you know? Like, what were you thinking before you were born? It could have been millennia. There could have been a quadrillion big bangs and big crunches and big bangs and big crunches.
Yeah.
Finally, you're born. You only know about your life, that you're a human.
Yep.
So when you die, the time that passes when you die until this happens again could be literally like like trillions and quadrillions and quadrillions and quadrillions of years. Then ever so happens that every freaking 10 to the 47th power years go by, this happens again.
Yeah.
We would have no idea about the time
absolutely.
difference, though.
That's that. It's not the multiverse theory, but it's absolutely right. Like the universe is so infinitely vast that there's a chance that this is happening somewhere else exactly the same, and it's happening somewhere else with a tiny variation where next to me there's a cat, and it's happening somewhere else with a tiny variation where we're having this discussion in Spanish, and infinite number of possible anything that you can think of is happening, and it's completely possible because it is that big that we cannot really even begin to comprehend it, right? Like that is
It's crazy.
and completely possible, right?
It's unreal. I mean, but the question: are we significant? Are we significant? Like, it's such a hard question to answer, and it's like,
But it's not really, right? Like that's kind of my point. It's we're not. Like the answer is, of course, we're not significant. Like why would we? Like
yeah,
why? I feel like that is such a we're so the human nature. We're so freaking egotistical. We're selfish as a motherfucker that we have to believe like, of course, we're significant. Why? We're just a chemical reaction. It just happened to be that they made us sentient. But
I get it I mean, I'm totally cool with not being significant because, again, like I said, before I was born, I didn't care that I wasn't born.
yeah,
After I'm dead, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be like, well, there's nothing to care about because there's no brain to care. But it's not like just a chemical reaction because um, it is. But my question is, if everything is all these waveforms and all these atoms and all these chemicals that happen to bump into each other correctly, yeah, it's a very hard, complex thing to happen to. Yeah, I guess never mind. I guess you're right. It is just chemical reactions. But I agree with you. I do. But I also I always go back to like before I was born, I wasn't depressed. You know, and after I'm dead, I'm not going to be depressed. I'm only
no.
depressed as a human sometimes.
And the thing is, no one will be, man. Like it's really hard to tell. I had this conversation with a friend of mine that was just awkward to have, even. But like, you were not depressed before and after, and the reality of it is that no one will be. Maybe for a little bit, but for a tiny fraction of time. Maybe your children will be sad. Maybe your girlfriend, your wife, like whoever. And after that, no one will remember you. And if they do, doesn't matter because you won't know. And if they do, they will stop remembering you because everything fades away. Nothing is forever. So why do we have this? Again, we're so egotistical that as humans, we always have like we have to leave a legacy. We have to. Why? We don't and it doesn't matter. But it's our nature. We're freaking selfish and egotistical.
I mean, I like to have fun as a human. That's fine. But I know that when
Yeah.
my time is over, that's it.
Yeah.
I know it. No one's ever figured out what happens when you die. But no one ever figured out what it's like to be a rock, though, either. What is it like to be a rock? It might be kind of cool. A rock sits there, yeah, but we don't know what a rock feels like. What does it feel like to just be atoms? You know, back in the day when I was young and stuff, I used to think about the cells, and like when you learn about biology, you're like, oh, a cell is a living thing. It's like, well, I'm made up of a lot of cells. Do individual cells matter or just the entire thing? You know, and
Yeah.
a lot of my cells die every day, and a lot of them are reborn every day, and I don't notice a difference. But again, it's just like another thing is like we're insignificant.
Yeah, we are, and I think, and then it's just the fact that we're sentient, which brings me to another question. Like, what would you consider? Well, let me ask you that. I don't know if I've ever asked you two things. Do you believe in an extraterrestrial life? One, and two, what would you consider? Not just extraterrestrial life, but successful AI equivalent to us. Like if you went to another planet and you found something like the equivalent of a whale, like is that considered? What's the term that they use? Like smart extraterrestrial life? Would that be considered?
Yeah.
Like what if it's just made out of metal? Would that be considered? Yeah, we found life in another planet. Like we cannot reason with it, right? Like we cannot even communicate.
We can't communicate with any other species on Earth, really, though, much. A little bit with some monkeys and stuff, but, like, try an eel. You're not going to communicate with an eel. So I doubt we'll be able to communicate with it.
Right, but to a certain level, let's suppose, let's suppose, like, if we found another person that, or an alien that spoke a different language, like let's suppose that we don't know about Spanish, right? And they are speaking
Right.
Spanish. We would be able to tell that we would be able to tell they're intelligent life. Because we would be able to establish some sort of, or we would be able to tell that they have a way to communicate. But
I don't think so. Not
You
right
don't
off the
think
bat. Like, we don't know if plants are intelligent, but we can't. We know we've been doing studies on science, but like plants do talk to each other. When one plant's dying, some plant gets like some mold or something that's killing it, it'll send a signal to all the other plants. But like the plants have, let's say the plants survive or the trees survive, and they survive for so many years. Just because we can communicate and talk, and we have all these feelings and stuff, doesn't really make us any different than, say, like a swarm of bees. You know, like the collective amount of bees is meaningful, but one bee is not that meaningful, right? But like we don't know how significant a bee is compared to how significant a mosquito is or a human. Like really, like we don't know if just because we can talk and communicate and learn doesn't mean that we're more well. We're self-defining intelligence by somebody that can like read book. We've only been reading books for so long. I mean, none of the stuff we're doing is that long. The cockroach has been intelligent, but a bacteria is even more intelligent. The bacteria doesn't have to worry about anything. It always survives. That's probably the most intelligent system ever because it won't die off. It might have come from Mars. Humans would never have survived that trip.
right.
So how intelligent is it to be a life form that is so freaking vulnerable versus one that isn't?
I
That's
guess
the way.
that you just answered my question. Like I guess so we would consider that the smart alien form, right? Even though technically speaking, that would not be able to ever pass the what's the name of the test?
Litmus
the Turing
test.
test.
Oh, the Turing test.
Turing test. You know?
Litmus.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of a bit of a mindfuck, right?
The Turing test is to see if you can pass as a human, though, not as intelligent.
You're right. You're right.
So
You're right. Never mind. It wouldn't even apply. You're absolutely right.
it's just so confusing because we don't know about any other species and what they really, really think. And why do they have to think like humans? We can
Yeah.
assume that they do a little bit because of evolution and because of what we can look at their genetics and their brain makeup and how the neurons are all put together, and we can say, hey, monkeys, even though they don't really have the capabilities we have, they kind of, sort of, in a way, have the same structures of the brain, and they probably do have some dreaming. They probably think the way we do a little bit, like fractions.
Yeah.
But that's just one species of like hundreds of thousands of species on this earth. And just because we're the only ones that can, like, oh wow, we can read books, but like the cockroach is like, oh wow, I've been here since like 20 million years ago.
Yeah.
You guys haven't. You guys are dumb. I'm smart. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's a fair point. Just to close, because I know it's past midnight where you are. But let me ask you this. I was thinking about this the other day. So, don't you think, like, the reason I ask about the simulation, I wonder how much we would be able to, like our brain to adapt, like we adapt to this weird world now. Like, kids are born into Wi-Fi and like instant communication, and it's just a part of them. But I just wonder if we really are in a simulation and we could change things, and like whoever is programming this program, that instead of walking, that we just surf everywhere, or that we move like slugs or some weird stuff. Our brain would be able to adapt to that pretty easily without going crazy if it never knew the other reality. Like, I wonder how much our brain is adaptable to even the craziest things that we cannot even imagine. Does that make sense? Like we cannot even think outside of it because we just think in terms of language and in terms of roads. Like we're just so used to it. But I wonder if someone else was born in Mars in a completely... Let's suppose that you're born and no one looks human. Everyone looks completely different. Would you go crazy? Or would your brain adapt? Like if you're born into if you're right now, if you go crazy, like without human interact, if you go for a long period of time without human interaction, you'll go crazy. But if you're born and it's just robots taking care of you, would you go crazy?
I don't think so. But I think I know what you're talking about, though. I think you're trying to say, the human brain can only do what the brain is allowed to do physically. So you've heard the term, probably. You've probably heard the term, like, it's unfathomable for a human to do, like, to think that way. And this is a little bit sort of what you're saying. I think there's two. I know what you're saying. Like, if you're gonna go and hang out with a bunch of robots all your life, and that's where you're born, would you start thinking like a robot more or less?
Yeah.
Versus the unfathomable. I think about the unfathomable a lot. Is we can only think as a human thinks because we're human. So it would be unfathomable. Like, a lot of the religious people think, like, well, because I always say, like, well, who created God? Who created this? Well, you'd know those answers if you were in heaven. I'm like, but I'm a human, and I'm like, well, no, who created heaven? Why did God do this? Or, like, it's a big circular thing, like, oh, well, God's mother? He doesn't have a mother. He created himself. Why did he create himself? Was he bored? Why would he be bored? He's God. Like, I would never run out of questions as a human. But because I'm a human, it's unfathomable for me to know that all questions are answered.
Yeah.
It's unfathomable. So, like, I think that's kind of... It's not really where you're going. You're going with the other one.
No, it is. You pretty much explained it. It's late. I'm tired, just like you are, and I was having a hard time explaining, but you pretty much explained it and kind of answered it.
Maybe. All right. One more question I've got. It's not like crazy deep, but think about inventions. I know it's late. Like, we'll go to bed soon, but think about inventions. We've invented a long time ago, not that long ago, we've figured out a way to control the electron, right?
Right.
The electron, just simple electron. So a photon, and that photon goes through wires and it creates things like, I don't know, lights, radio waves, electricity, computers, microphones, pretty much every single thing that we do.
Right.
Because we controlled the electron so well that we did all that.
Yeah.
When is the next invention where we control one little elementary particle and we get all of the results? Like, the result of the electron is literally us doing this, recording, videotaping, photons coming to my eyeball from my screen, electromagnetic waves, satellites, cars, computer simulations. Everything came from the fact that we can control in a little tiny electron back and forth. So are we going to be able to control a neutrino? And what do we get out of that? Or a graviton? What do we get out of that? And will that ever happen?
I get your point. I think that there's no way of knowing, and there is also the possibility that nothing comes out of it. However, from that teletransportation or opening wormholes or stuff like that could come out. Like it could be, like you said, the next best thing. But there's also a chance that nothing comes out of it. I do think that, on the topic of your same idea, we are on the verge of the next step in evolution. As far as, man, I really do think, if it's not here already and we don't know about it, that we will find a way into immortality. I think that, like I said, I think that it might be completely possible that it's happening already and we don't know. But like communications with, I think that's the next revolution. Communications with the computers, like the Neuralink, like that Elon Musk thing that he's talking. That right now the communications that we have with computers and with phones is just so limited to like what we can type, which is super slow compared to what our brain is really thinking. So I think very soon, if it's not here already, we'll be able to interact with the computer like just by thinking it. So the moment that we think like, I want to see a picture of this, and it will just come up and whatever. And I think that will change. That will make us different. It will not make us even human, man. Like, and I truly think, I really do that is within our lifetime. Man, I think that is gonna get trippy. I really do. I think by the time we're 60, it's gonna be completely beyond anything we can imagine. And I might be completely wrong, but
I believe a lot of it will happen, and we just get used to it over time. I mean, we definitely do. And things are slow. Like, things are slow. Like, how many times did it take us to get this video podcast set up? It was like ridiculously slow.
Dude, it's super slow. And even Googling, even though it's quick, like if we have a question, we can Google it. But it's just really slow.
Yeah,
like having to, what is the recipe for this?
First, I have to actually reach over and get my phone or touch something. Then I have to go to Google or clicking on the URL and using that as Google.
Yep.
Then I have to click on the answer. There's so many simple tasks that have not been solved yet, though. It drives me insane.
Yeah.
Dude,
I think about that so much. Like how many times do you think in a day, like, there needs to be a solution for this or an app for this or
all day, every day.
Something that is just as easy as this. But I was thinking of something that I've struggled with every single place that I work with. When we have lunch meetings and someone has to get the lunch from everyone, it's either a group email. So you're waiting on everyone to send their email so that you can get the order or whatever. And I'm always thinking, like, Jimmy John's has that option that you send an email to everyone. Everyone puts what they want, and you pay for it and whatever.
Nice.
But like the point is, those little things like that, there's a million of those that you're like, why have we not made it more fast? And we do it. Like, we clearly, that's changing quickly. But it's still an issue, right? Like, we're clearly not where we want to be.
Clearly not. Like, let me give you one example that we're just not even there. All right, so here's my example. When we're done with this podcast, I want it to scrap the first minute, scrap the last minute, post it on Facebook, post it on YouTube, Twitter, and then I also want you to create a Reddit post when I'm done with this podcast.
Yeah, like,
it's not happening. Oh, by the way, and then text my 5 most frequent people
Yeah, that it's how.
the link.
Yep.
That's so simple, though. It really is.
Yep.
But they're trying, like, oh, the if this then that thing. There's like they're trying, but literally that's what I wanted to do. Hey, computer, when I'm done with this podcast, post it like you should. Post the motherfucker.
And the thing is, I'm sure that there's people that have tried it or have been working on it for years. Like, there's even an episode of The Office. Do you ever watch that TV show?
I've seen a few episodes, yeah.
There's a parody where Ryan creates this service called Woof, and it's literally what you just described. And he's like, I'm going to create this service called Woof, which is like a little dog that is annoying you, because when I tell you I'm going to send you a woof, you're going to get a Twitter, a Facebook, and whatever. But it's really what we need. And again, I think it's very difficult, man, because the example that I can give you with this is with DaVinci Resolve or with Filmora or Cut Pro X or whatever. When you upload your stuff you can edit and select upload automatically to YouTube and to Vimeo and to this, right? Like it's a good feature. But YouTube changes so much. Like now they added like the tags, and now this new kids thing, you have to select if this content is for kids or whatever. That Filmora and DaVinci and even Adobe Premiere Pro, they cannot keep up with all those changes. So imagine just keeping up. They cannot keep up with YouTube, let alone with Twitter, with everything. It's a constant evolution and challenge, like with everything. Someone's gonna get it right, and eventually, because
Hey Alexa, when we're done with this, also add closed caption in. And add relevant tags based on my most frequent words. When you do a frequency search on all the words that I've done after you've done your closed captioning.
Yes.
But even the most simple stuff they can't do. It's like 5 minutes. Like literally right now, what's 27 times 404? It would take me. I can do it in maybe 7 or 8 seconds. I can find that.
Right.
But I just asked the question and I didn't get an answer.
Right. Yeah, and that's my
bullshit.
point, man. Like, we're gonna get to that point. It's a little bit of a different answer to your question, like what is the next particle? But again, I do truly think that that's the next step in evolution, like the interaction with technology. I think it's there. It has to be possible, man. Like it's just electric impulses that make us think like that. It's just we have to make that connection. I don't know if it's gonna be a freaking cable. I don't know if it will be wireless, but I think it will happen. And if we're like going back to the question, actually, if we're able to control the neutrino and the speed and whatever, that might be a game changer, man. I think that it
will.
We have to be able. I do believe it has to be able. We have to be able to do teletransportation, right? Like there has to be a way to do it, man. And when that happens, dude, imagine there will be a time, just like we think right now, like the generations before. Like I think of how tough my parents had it, man. Like without internet and without, like many times I'm like, fuck, like going to the DMV sometimes and waiting there 8 hours without nothing. Like it was brutal. The next generations are gonna think of that as like, dude, they had to drive to work every day, be 1 hour in traffic. If they wanted to go back home, they had to get on an airplane and be there for 4 hours, drive to the. And at some point that will go away, man. And
I agree that if we live long enough, I do think that will. And and in fact, hopefully they don't even say they had to actually. Hopefully they'll say, wait, they had to actually go to work, like not actually teleport to work and then drive to work. I mean, they actually had to work.
Right.
Fuck that.
Right.
Why would they work when they can just play all day?
Exactly. What about the point when we become completely self-sustainable? And that brings another topic for another type, like the Skynet. Rise of the machines and all that stuff, like maybe which could be possible too, and it's a real concern. It's what Andrew Yang is in a way kind of worried about, more in a political sense, but it's truly what Elon Musk is worried about, right? Like it's like AI is gonna fuck us eventually, guys. Like we need regulation for it, and there's plenty of tech enthusiasts that have pushed for that regulation. It's not gonna happen. Maybe it's inevitable. Maybe it is.
Let's do a. I want to do another one. I want to do an interview with you, legit. I'll figure out my audio again. I want to do another. I want to do an interview about your career path and shit. Dude, we should probably call this one quits, though.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking late, and I'm probably still gonna. I'm sure you're gonna edit a little bit, but it's just too late.
Hell no. I'm just gonna wait for that audio to come in. I've got so much shit to edit anyway. So.
You got it. Me too,
3
man.
fucking cameras, man.
All right, man. Good times.
All
Thanks
right,
for taking the time.
all right, later.
Later.